as far as the pros for this, biggest pro to me is it makes that school a harder target.
Right.
If I'm going to go shoot up the school, I don't know how many people in there have guns and can get to me first.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the damage that I want to do to be able to get all over the news. And
Right.
which, I do like that a lot of stations have now gone from once they announce the person's name one time, they no longer announce their name.
I kind of like that too.
Just a little side note, but to me, that's the big advantage is it makes
Yeah.
that school a harder target.
So you got to understand that a lot of these school shooters, generally they're looking for attention, or something happened to them in the school. And I'm telling you, in those situations, there were a lot of these school shootings. There were red flags way
Mm-hmm.
before the incident, and no one did anything about it. Um, that's where I have a little bit of the problem. It should have never escalated to that point, but because people buried their heads or didn't do anything or didn't do the right procedure or anything like that, and a lot of them were bullied. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them were bullied, and I will tell you, people can only take so much. They're going to get pushed to the point where, if that's their last resort, they think, I'm not excusing any of their behavior, but when they feel like they get to that last point, they're going to, it's like an animal in the corner, and it's going to attack. Why do we keep pushing these into the corner here?
Mm-hmm.
Why does that happen?
And sometimes, even if the school does everything they can, there's nothing done at home to help fix the situation. In over the
Yeah.
summer, there was that trial that finally came down of the parents of the kid that I want to say was in Colorado, but I may be wrong. Don't quote me on the state, but that was the first time that parents have been charged with any sort of major felony for
Okay.
their child going to school or going somewhere and shooting. And it was essentially because they were negligent, and when the signs were pointed out to them, they were like,
Right.
"Nah, whatever."
And I have a feeling that, we're going to cover this is, teachers and concealed carry. School shootings, of course, we're going to touch base on that a little bit, but I think we're going to have a whole nother episode with, I think, a special guest here with someone who has actually been in a school during a school shooting. We're going to have a guest here that will do that, and we're going to cover that in another
Yeah,
episode. So this is just kind of an overall topic over teachers carrying not firearms, not necessarily a school shooting episode. I want to make
yeah,
sure that we're clear on that.
yeah. And main reason teachers would carry firearms is if there was a shooting, but
Right, and that's
so
why we
it's
have
kind
to
of the
touch on it.
precursor to it.
Right.
So now get into the cons that I have for this.
Okay.
Biggest con that I have is you now have a lot of firearms in a school potentially
Right.
with even more kids that can be really, really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So here's the situation I see. Johnny and Jimmy get into a fist fight. Mr. Jones goes to break it up, and Mr. Jones is carrying,
Okay.
and he's got it on his hip.
Okay.
So as he goes and he grabs Johnny and Jimmy, Billy sees it, and Billy really has it out for some people. Mr. Jones's hands are tied up with Johnny and Jimmy. It doesn't take much for Billy to then grab that off his hip, and now he's got a live firearm right there.
Yeah. That. This is why this is not an easy subject.
Right.
That reason right there.
So the counter to that is, well, the teacher just has a lockbox in the classroom that's attached to the wall or the floor or whatever, and they're the only ones with the key or the combination, and that's where they keep it.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds great, except for then they would have to be in their room by it when something happened to be able to effectively use it.
Not only that, but then you're asking that teacher to unholster, holster again. Every time he wants to, move from that spot, he has to pull it out and holster. And to me, that's too much movement with a firearm.
Right. Well, and even if you said, well, I know where I went to school, most teachers had one, maybe two rooms that they worked in the whole day.
Yeah.
So even if you said, until you move from this room, you keep it there.
Yeah.
Well, most teachers also go outside of their room during passing period.
Right.
So not which, I don't know, I'd have to look up the stats and see if I can find anything, but I would think that more often than not, just from someone wanting to cause as much damage, as much panic as possible,
Right.
Probably passing period would be the optimal time there.
Right.
So now you've got a teacher that is outside of their room
Right.
and something happens. Now they have to go back into that room, get to it, and then come back out. And by that point, they've wasted, what, if they're fast, 30 seconds maybe?
Most school fights are going to be over by
Right.
the time that happens.
Right.